said I was in my...
So the worst part of a cancer diagnosis is the unknown and the waiting around and waiting. And it would have made my life so much simpler if I'd known from the beginning what the diagnosis was. The process and when you're diagnosed with cancer is so many unknowns, from the initial doctor's appointment where there's something suspicious, but a lot of false promises of, don't worry about it, you're young,
But it was a waiting period, it was, is it not, because the big thing was if I had to have a full one, of course I'd be on medication for the rest of my life for it. So that was the big decision, and of course, they wanted to be sure.
Like, time stood still because you didn't know, were you healthy? Did you have cancer? How was your life going to change? And I couldn't make those decisions. It was 6 weeks, 8 weeks of sheer hell of not knowing what my future was and not being able to make any decisions or any plans on how to move forward for the future because I didn't know what the diagnosis was.
So this patient is more or less a classic example of how dogs could really help in the diagnosis of thyroid cancer. She went through, by her own admission, a month or more of being told that things are suspicious, but don't worry, that the biopsy is suspicious, but don't worry, that it's not a cancer. And this went on and on through the nuclear medicine study where she had a cold nodule, the biopsy itself, and only much later, after they actually did a diagnostic hemithyroidectomy, were they able to come to the diagnosis of thyroid cancer.
What the dogs found out when they used mine, and it was positive.
And it came back after the surgery that the tumor was in fact a cancerous lesion, and that now I would have to deal with a cancer diagnosis. If I had had the option at the very beginning for a dog to be able to sniff my biopsy or to sniff a swab from my neck to say, yeah, in fact, this looks really suspicious and the dog is telling me this is cancer, now we need to come up with a plan of action, it would have alleviated so much stress and anxiety.
So the dog really would have short-circuited a lot of this. I think that if you had a physician who had understanding on the dog's capability, and if they, quote, hit on the patient's urine, that they'd be a lot more conscientious perhaps and a lot more aggressive in terms of coming to a diagnosis sooner.
Think about what you do with it. What did you do with it? What did I do with it?